I'm filming this on the same day that I filmed the bumper install, so I don't know if this is going to come out before or after, but the bumper is on the car, so spoiler for that. But I just wanted to talk about the Integra that I kind of teased on my shorts and show you what it has done already and where it's going. This car kind of has a crazy story. Basically, I would drive by this house on the way to the skate park a lot, and I saw it sitting in the driveway of this house. And I've always liked DAs, but I've never really had the opportunity to buy one or was willing to, sell a car to get one. But this one didn't move, and it had cinder blocks behind it, so I knew he didn't drive it. And so after a couple weeks of doing this and seeing the car not move, I started knocking. No one would answer. So after a couple times trying that, I actually left a note and never heard back. So I kind of just forgot about it. And then a couple weeks later, the owner called me and was like, yeah, I just keep the car there. So and I was like, well, does it run? Does it drive? And he said no. It won't start, and I just want it gone. So I made an offer on it, and he was like, yeah, come get it. So we drove out there about a week later and had it towed back, got it home, put a battery in it, and it started right away.
Smooth oil, baby. Let's go. Okay, now do it. First drive, 1 inch. First drive. Yeah. Let's go. My guy's hyped. I'm geeked. Proud of you.
Let's fucking go. That's fucking sick.
I love that.
Go buy a battery.
But it turned out the alternator was dead. The owner thought it was probably the alternator, so he was right. And on these cars, it's actually horrendous to get to the alternator. Your options are kind of either take your driver's side suspension apart and get it out that way, or take your intake manifold off. There's just not a lot of room in the bay. So I was going to rebuild all of the suspension anyway, so pulling the suspension apart wasn't a big deal for me. Did the alternator, and then kind of dove into the suspension. I knew that with this car, I've always kind of wanted just like a very I don't even know what the word is, very just core old school Japanese build. And there's a lot of things that I've wanted to do to cars in the past that I just didn't want to do to the cars I owned. I mean, the other Integra, I drive too much to make it as ridiculous as this car, and the Civic is the same story. So kind of started hunting down parts. This car already has a couple rare parts on it. The sunroof visor is in great condition. It doesn't have any cracks or anything. I have all the interior pieces. The seatbelts still work. It has a little bit of fender rust in the rear, but it's so small that I don't even need to get patch panels. I can just have it repaired. Little things like that. So the first thing I did was the driver's side fender had some damage from the car being in a small rear end accident. So I sourced a fender. I actually have a hood for the car sitting at a friend's house, because this one has some damage too. And I also sourced the bumper and the headlights. The bumper, the fender, and the hood are all of the same parts car. And then the headlights are actually Australian market headlights, which are very similar to the Japanese ones, except for the projector housings are a little bit different. And to me, they look a little bit cleaner. So they're a little bit cheaper too, so that was nice. It has the original B17 in it with the original trans. As far as I know, everything on the car is VIN matching. It still has the stock intake and everything. The motor seems to be healthy. I haven't done a compression check on it or anything, but I mean, it runs and drives, so it doesn't seem like it's stuttering or hesitating or anything like that. I need to find seats. I have some seats in mind, but they're kind of hard to come by, so I'm gonna leave that as a surprise. But in terms of suspension, it's been kind of wonky figuring out how to make it do what I want. These cars are really easy to get low in the rear and really hard to get low in the front. So the rear is where I'll start. It has MPC drop forks as lower control arms, so they're like the normal ones, but they cut up at the last knuckle so that you can get more camber, and it just literally drops. Well, it raises the knuckle and therefore drops the car about 1.5 inches. And I think they're K-tuned upper control or upper camber arms, and then the coilovers on the whole car are K-tuned, but they are DC2, so the next generation newer for Integras, and they bolt right up. The only difference is that the shock collar size is bigger in the DC2, so that only affects the front because the rear is a fork and the shock collar doesn't even touch anything, so it doesn't matter. So the rear bolts right up. I don't know if the geometry is any different, but I do know that the spring rate and the dampening should technically be stiffer because the DC2 is heavier. So I was happy about that because I obviously want the car to be pretty stiff. It's insanely low. So on the front of the car, the shock was a little bit more of a trick. So because the shock collar in the front seats in a fork, I also bought MPC drop forks for the front. So same idea as the rear. They're just cut shorter so that there's less distance between the top hat and the bottom control arm. So I got DC2 coilovers. The MPC drop forks come in EF and DC2, difference being the diameter of the opening. So I had to get DC2 drop forks to go with the coilovers. I put it all in the car and dropped it, and it still wasn't low enough. So I sent my spindles over to Andy at Pop Hop's Garage, and you can check out his channel here. And he was able to do a great job cutting them, cut about, I think, 1.5 inches out of them, welded them back together, put them back. And the great thing too is we got some camber out of them. So kind of 2 birds with 1 stone. And now everything's good. I'm probably forgetting some stuff. I honestly haven't been in there in a while. I did both axles because I was kind of assuming with the way the suspension sits it would be a problem. Right now, so the reason the car doesn't move, I guess I should talk about that. Well, I'll talk about the wheels first. So the wheels are 14/7 -10 offset, which is a really weird size. And I got them shipped here from Texas, I think. So the rewinds, the Koenigs, are traditionally used for the 280Z community because they are a pretty close representation of the Tanabis, and they're obviously significantly cheaper. This is actually my second set. I had a set of these on my CB7 Accord, but not in this spec. Those are 15/7s. So, but most of them, I should say, only come in 14 or 4x114. So they're all bolt pattern for the car. So this car has 1-inch spacer adapters on all 4 that go from 4x100, which is the hub size, to the 4x114, which is the wheel size. Which is why they sit so flush for being a x7 wheel. But the reason the car doesn't move is because the last time I dropped off with this car, it rolls, but the engine is so low to the ground that the oil pan basically hits immediately, and so does the headers. The headers and the exhaust contact no matter what. So basically what I'm looking to do is get about 1 to 1.5 inch motor lifts made that'll bring the whole motor and transmission up in the engine bay. And then what that will probably mean is that the frame will need to be notched so that the CV axles can clear it, because it'll be at a new angle. I'm not sure if it'll need it or not, but I'm kind of anticipating that it will. There's a lot of geometry that's guessing for me because of how unique the suspension is to this car. It's just been a lot of like trying to get the car to move and then seeing where it's hitting, and then, you know, that might need to be cleared. The drop forks also might need to be cleared. A lot of guys in the DA forum were saying that they find binding issues with the drop forks, but I think a lot of them are running the EF style, and I don't know if there's any difference between the two. But MPC actually offers a service where they will clearance them for you, so that's really cool, and it's free of charge. You just send them to them. And then once the motor lift is in, I say that as if it's even in the works. It's not. But whenever it is done, the hood will probably need a lot of attention too, because the engine is already so close to the hood that it's gonna probably hit it, the valve cover. And I have some ideas as to what I can do for that. I'm trying to keep the car as clean as I can, so I'm hoping not to have to like cut a hole. But if that's the case, I have ideas. So I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, that's kind of where the car is. I basically ran out of money to fund this car, and it is significantly lower on the priority list than the other Integra, which I want to get some more seat time in this year, and my Civic, which obviously I daily drive. So yeah, it's kind of just in the back seat sitting there, but fear not, there will be more Integra content if that's what you're into. I know a lot of guys hate the stance stuff. That's okay. You don't have to like it. I feel like I am doing a pretty broad range of car stuff that if you don't like the stance stuff, you can hang around for the Civic and the other Integra. But if you do like the stance stuff, hopefully you like the way this car is headed. And I'd love to hear any of you guys with ideas. I am having a hard time finding motor lift information. I know I've spoken with Andy about doing it, and the only hang up that I have there is the distance and getting the car down there and then getting it back. He's a bit of a drive for me, and especially with the way the car sits, I'd have to get it towed, and it's just a lot, which is fine. I'm more than happy to do that, but if there was a way that I could buy a pre-made kit and do it in my driveway, that would be ideal. So if you have any info on that, let me know. Yeah, so that's where the car sits, and that's probably where I'm gonna wrap up this video. So yeah, thanks for watching.